Okay, we have one more presentation about CILA. This will be on supporting behavioral needs in CILA. It's a reality that individuals with more unique needs are sometimes have the hardest time accessing services. So I'm really thrilled that Eileen Benin, the proud mom of 2 adult sons with autism and intellectual disabilities, and Kim Berenberg, the clinical services manager at Glenkirk, are here to discuss their housing model and how to support individuals with behavioral needs. So please help me welcome Eileen and Kim.
Good afternoon. Make sure everyone can hear me. Again, my name is Kim Berenberg. I'm the Clinical Services Division Manager at Glenkirk. Today I'm joined by Eileen Benin, a parent whose sons reside at Glenkirk, to talk a little bit about her story and then how we partnered together to provide them supports in a CILA setting. Just a little bit about Glenkirk. Glenkirk was founded in 1954, so we've been around for quite a while. We did start, it was started actually with a group of parents who had gathered together trying to find solutions for their kids, and it evolved to include day services, residential services, and clinical services. Our residential program has 20 CILAs, 3 FLA sites, which are host family, where up to 2 individuals would live with one around-the-clock caregiver, similar to foster care type of environment. A community living facility, which is an apartment in which there is not staff present in the units, but there is staff present in the building at all times for support. That's for somebody who's learning those skills to take the next step out into independent community living. And then an independent living program in which we support through intermittent CILA individuals in their own apartments, condos in the community. Day and employment services include sensory and therapeutic programming, which would be kind of wraparound services of occupational, physical, speech therapies, as well as creative arts therapies, such as art and music. We have community and social skills building curricula, social enterprises. For example, we have a shredding company that's based in Northbrook that employs 14 people with intellectual disabilities full-time. And then community employment, which is job seeking, job attainment, and then job maintenance through either on-site coaching or just keeping that connection with the employer to ensure that that individual can remain in that community employment. And then clinical services, which we'll talk about more in depth after Eileen speaks, which is about integrated care. It's about care coordination of medical and behavioral health. It's about linking with specialists, as well as the individual and group therapy and behavioral supports. I will pass the mic off to Eileen Benin, and she's going to talk about her experience.
Well, that's me with brown hair. And those are my 2 sons, Stephen and Howard Benin. They're sort of going through different stages of their lives. They were always very handsome-looking boys when they were younger, and they attracted a lot of attention because they were cute and adorable, but within 3 seconds of anybody meeting them, they finally figured out in those 3 seconds there was something grossly wrong with them. Howard now, that was Howard to the left, is now 44, and Stephen is 46. I was a young mother at the age of 25 when my son was, Stephen, the one on the right, was diagnosed, and a woman who was only 60 years old at the time, and now I'm 13 years older than that, said to me with gray hair, and I thought she was the oldest person I had ever seen, said to me, your son is mentally retarded, autistic, and emotionally disturbed, and I suggest you get him in school immediately. I was pregnant at the time with Howard, and she took me from this chair, and I became like a pancake on the floor. I went home, and I ate a whole box of toffee squares, threw the box away, and decided that was my morning, and I was going to make a life for these two boys, which wasn't born yet, and I didn't know he was going to be the same. So we went through public school on the North Shore, NSSCD, and also at Malloy in Morton Grove. And we were really pretty much privileged to be part of a very fantasy Disney-like school district. Everything was provided for you, one-on-ones, you name it. And I thought I had two terrific stars that when we transitioned out of school, that any agency would take us. So we went around to all the well-known agencies at the time, and they said, "Are you crazy? We can't take your sons. They're too involved. They have autism. They're going to need a one-on-one staff. We have groups of 60 and 50, and you won't get a one-on-one." And I go, oh my gosh, I just thought I had gotten, hit by a boulder from Grand Canyon, and then, the volcano exploded on top of me, and then I had to cross the river, and there was the Great Flood. And I didn't know what I was going to do, and all of a sudden I go, who's going to help me? So finally, I got in touch with Glenn Kirk, and Glenn Kirk said, we'll take your boys. So I was, by that time, very intimidated. I did not know how to navigate the system. They said to me, now you have to call CAU. I go, what is CAU? Who is this agency? Who's going to walk me through all of this? So I consider myself very lucky because many people get caseworkers that are not helpful and you become a number. I was lucky that I got somebody at least I could talk to and cry to. So we went to Glenn Kirk. Glenn Kirk decided to take us, but I knew nothing about what an agency was going to provide for me. I thought it was the same thing as NSSCD all over again. And here I have these two boys extremely involved. The only thing they had going for them is, they acted funny sometimes. So, I got a new car many years ago and Howard yells out, "New car, hold on tight." So I would tell them these stories and people would immediately think, oh, we can help them. But I didn't tell them all the ways they were challenged. They cannot speak their needs, their thoughts, their feelings without great stress and challenge. They're sleep disordered. Stephen got in the fetal position at night and rocks himself to sleep. Howard would throw a party in his bedroom. We had to put Howard in the basement so we could sleep. My husband was training to be a dermatologist and he was in his residency. He would choose to stay at the hospital rather than come home. I couldn't get babysitters. Nobody knew how to take care of them. And this kept on going year after year after year after year. I don't think I had a typical normal day except for taking a picture when everybody would smile. But there was always something going on in their life. Now, if you took Howard out and somebody screamed at the top of their lungs, Howard could get up and decide, I don't know how to deal with this screaming, so I think I'll just take a chunk out of his face, or I'll take a chunk out of his arm. And Stephen would decide, I think I'll just hit my head against the wall and make a lot of noise, because I don't like being in this room with 60 people. So when Glenn Kirk said, we'll take you, I said, we're going. That's it. I knew nothing about it. I have to say that the first 3 years, 5 years, 6 years were like an experiment. They were not easy. They were not easy. I was waiting on the luggage every single day to pack somebody up because Howard was biting somebody. Stephen was screaming at the top of his lungs. And then somebody at Glen Kirk noticed, they can't be in this environment. You can't put somebody with autism in a room with high ceilings, big lights, a humming off the light, and 60 people. And unfortunately, there was a deaf person there that deserved to be in that room too, but he would scream. And then Howard would run across the room and bite him. So all of a sudden, I had a child that everybody was afraid of. And I mean everybody. Oh, I won't work at that house. Oh, I won't be the staff there. So it took years of training and modifying, but mostly having people listen to me, okay? I advocated and advocated and advocated. Howard cannot be in a room with all these people. Stephen needs something to do every day. He was sitting on a metal chair. And that wasn't life to me. I was used to my sons being productive, doing something meaningful with their life. And now I only wish I had a picture of it, but last Wednesday night, Stephen, who's 46 years old, cannot speak his name, his needs, or his thoughts, was given an award for being a volunteer at the Deerfield Township Food Pantry for stocking the shelves. Glenkirk made that happen because I never shut up, okay? Do not be quiet. Your child has a skill, build on that skill. Go to the management people in your agency and say, look what my child can do. Howard now has a one-on-one because he scared everybody to death. And because he has a one-on-one, he is able to cope with the environment that he lives in. He's able to cope with the environment that he is included in the community. He's part of the Next Gen program. It is a community-inclusive program created by Glenkirk where every single day they either go on a recreational tour, a cultural tour, or a vocational tour where they do some type of meaningful work. He would not be able to do that unless Glenkirk listened to me and I said, get this volcano away from me, get this flood of people away from this boy. Let him show you what he can do, and he did. And every Wednesday he goes to, it's a parent-run Starbucks called the Perk Cafe in Glenview, Illinois, where he wraps the muffins, he wraps the bananas, the apples, he cleans up, he fills the sweet and low bills, building on the skills he has. He also can read and write, and he can go on the iPad. And because of that, Kim recognized his communication skills, and we were able to get speech therapy through Medicare, who comes to the house, works with him on his iPad, works with him on the little speech he has to communicate. And he has made progress. He's made progress because somebody listened to me because I didn't shut up. I kept on being Woody the Woodpecker. Look what Howard can do. And it's being lost sitting in a workshop. It's being lost not being out in the community. It's being lost. Let people get to know our family members, see what they can do. And every single day, my two sons go out in the community with support, with help in smaller groups. Sometimes the groups are 10, sometimes they're 17, sometimes they're 3, but he's out there and he's with support. And this never would have happened if, again, I didn't shut up and somebody didn't listen to me. You have to learn how to advocate, but most of all, you have to set yourself goals for your child that are realistic. And you have to show them that look what Howard can do, look what Steve can do. Don't let it go wasted. And, I say this in a good way and a bad way. Because of Howard's ability to hurt somebody and Steve's noise, we have a CILA of 3. And unfortunately, your child really has to present with severe involvement to get that type of service. And I'm only hoping that everybody in this room listens to me and says, don't let this happen. Don't let only people who are so involved get syllabus of 3. Get syllabus of 3 for all your children. It's more like a family. Did you grow up with 8 people? No, you didn't. Well, maybe you did. You did. I didn't. I grew up with a sister who I was fighting with all the time, but we are now the best of friends. Okay? But find an agency that will listen to you. Develop a partnership with that agency. They are there to help you. They are there to support you. We have a beautiful home. It's like house beautiful because I put the furniture in myself. And I went to work. I went back to work to buy things for my son. I knew I couldn't send them to college, and I knew they weren't going to take a trip around the world, so I took what I would have done for them, went back to work, and provide as much as I can for them. But find an agency like Glenkirk, find people like Kim, talk to them, tell them, and they'll listen to you. They will definitely listen to you, and they will make it happen if you set a realistic goal, okay? Stephen loves to be out in the community. He loves to take walks. He loves to go to a museum. They gave him these opportunities. So the first general school years were much easier. CILA life is a little harder, but it can work. And every single day I say thank you. I died and went to heaven when the management came to Glenkirk that's there today. They have smaller groups. They took a larger workshop, divided it up into 3 smaller groups, changed people around, and gave everybody the opportunity to have a good day. And we're still improving and still improving. So I suggest all of you come take a look at Glenkirk. Come to our CILA. It's called the Rosemary CILA. I'm inviting all of you. Okay? Just come after 3 o'clock because I am there every single day. And I'll take you for a tour. I'll show you the neighborhood. We're a very progressive suburb, Highland Park. You know, the North Shore, I think, is very, I'm sure you are out here too, but I believe we're more, okay? Because I found peace of mind. Now, you'll never find peace of mind, and you will always, every single day I worry. And I'll leave you with this note. Every single day I worry what happens when I'm gone. You know, who's going to bring over that extra this, that extra that? Who's going to say, Steve, your socks are on backwards, which happens daily? I mean, do I have to tell any of you? No. We every single day is a journey that goes like this. And when they go like this, I go like this. But like the box of toffee squares, I eat the box of toffee squares, and I start all over again.
Lovely. So wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Eileen, for your always honest and witty take on life, but always honest, which I think everyone always responds to something that feels true. I want to talk a little bit about the how, because I think as Eileen's talking and saying, I've had this wonderful experience, the questions are, but how did that happen? And yes, it happened from a lot of advocacy, but it also happened by having a system put in place in which service delivery can occur. So I want to talk a little bit about the clinical services model at Glenkirk, because I think it's really the key to how we can support people with more intense behavioral needs in a CILA setting. And the clinical services always start with the person served. When you're talking about somebody that has more intense behavioral needs, don't underestimate the power of a great BCBA, a board-certified behavior analyst. Glenkirk employs 4 full-time BCBAs, and they provide us with the clinical expertise and assessment that you just can't get elsewhere. So when we start with the behaviorist, they will do some in-depth assessment and observation and really try to understand what's the core of the behavior. As Eileen mentioned, for Howard, there's a huge sensory component to behavioral episodes. There's a huge communication piece to the behavioral episodes. So that BCBA is going to look at that and say, how do we meet those needs in a way that's more productive and more pro-social, and removes that barrier. For Howard also, that assessment included, we need some one-to-one supports, right, which is available in the CILA setting. Our BCBAs assist us in completing all the documentation that needs to happen in order to get those additional staff supports, because it's pretty extensive. And then in an ongoing way, we're required to report back to DHS about, does this person still need this? What does the data say? So having that person that can kind of provide that ongoing support to make sure that once you get that support, you keep it. With that recommendation from the BCBAs, a lot of times there's also referrals out to specialists. So in Howard's case, there's occupational therapy, there's speech therapy, there's psychiatry, which can be always a piece to the puzzle. For some individuals, it can really be a great aid in helping manage behavioral episodes. Additionally, you have to end up then, you have psychiatry, now you need to get pharmacy, you need to get labs, you need to have somebody coordinating these services to make sure that they continue to get the things that are helping them. Counseling, I know I had mentioned previous, Glenkirk has a team of not just talk therapists, but creative arts therapists, because not everyone is going to be able to sit in a chair and talk about what early life events led to their neuroses. I think that, we have art therapy, we have dance movement therapy, music therapy, and through those creative arts, you're encouraging socialization, you're encouraging communication, you're getting sensory needs met in a pro-social manner. That is a very important piece of this puzzle. And Howard has really enjoyed dance movement therapy in the past. He does music therapy. He enjoys participating in both group and individual settings. The primary care physician, something that's different in the adult world is that, when you're in special education, there's a lot of services that just kind of wrap around automatically as a part of the service. When you get into adult services, you can obtain those services, but you have to go through care coordination and insurance. And so having a primary care physician that supported our wish to have Howard be evaluated for occupational therapy and speech therapy, that physician needed to listen, write that referral, write a supporting documentation so that insurance in fact would say, okay, I see what you're saying, we're gonna support and pay for this evaluation and ongoing services. Glenkirk employs a full-time care coordinator, and her role is really keeping all of these plates spinning, making sure that we're meeting all the documentation requirements that we have for insurance for all of these different services, making sure appointments are made, that people get to their appointments if they need support to do so, and really just making sure that the things that we obtain we're able to maintain in a pretty complicated service delivery system that requires an intense amount of documentation. The nurse, when you're in a CILA setting, you're dependent upon staff to provide care. And I think that those staff not only need to know the behavior plan, they need to understand the medications. In a CILA setting, they're administering the medications. And so having that nurse that's available to our staff 24 hours a day to answer questions, to express, oh, I'm concerned, something's not right today, is an extremely important piece of the puzzle. Catching things early is key when intervening with somebody that needs intense behavioral supports. And then we can't forget about the queue. At Glenkirk, our QIDPs manage not only the staff, but the operations of the CILA home. And so here, this person is a perfect support in ensuring that our staff are educated, that they're supported, that they're supervised, that they're monitored, that if expectations are set, that they're held accountable, and that they really partner together with the entire care coordination process to make sure that the services that we can obtain are delivered, and delivered in a therapeutic manner. So that really is kind of a overview of how you can take all these different modalities and all these different services and use them in conjunction with one another to support somebody with intense behavioral needs.
Well,
Nice.
That's the love of my life there.
And there's
That's Howard, he's 44, that's a current picture of him. He used to have a lot of hair, and now he's bald. But I love him with the bald head, yeah.
That's right, with all your heart. So I just wanted to open it up to questions to either Eileen or myself.
Questions?
She has a question back there.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I missed it. What is QIDP?
It's a qualified intellectual disabilities professional. When you're in the adult system, you are required to have a case manager that kind of writes the program plan, identifies goals to work on, and really kind of oversees the services.
First of all, I am so proud of you because you fought that battle 20 years earlier than I had to fight it, so you paved the way for me.
And
Thank you.
when my boys entered school, I think PL 194 that mandated public school be available for people with disabilities was about 6 years old. And it was those parents that had opened schools and churches and basements that I owe my gratitude to because they made it happen. And just remember, the American Disabilities Act says that everything that you have as a citizen of Illinois are your civil rights to be withheld up in a CILA too.
Yeah, so we have to keep paying it forward, right?
It never ends. You have to keep on building for the next year and the next year and the next year. This is not going to go away. Your children are going to be disabled, for their whole lives, but you need an agency that will take the best of what they can do and enhance it. And that's what I feel my mission is to try and get my sons to reach the highest level of ability they can in the best environment they can. And you have to identify that, and then you have to talk to somebody as articulate and well-versed in the system as Kim, because she really knows the system and she knows how to navigate it for a parent. And that's the most important thing. There are things out there that are available. You have to partner with an agency that will navigate the system for you and make that happen.
Well, that brings me to my question, because what you said is true. It's not the agency, it's the person you get in that agency, because I've been in an agency where every answer is, well, I don't know, but I'll look into it, and I never hear anything back. So I want to know, how do I get to Kim?
272-5111.
Look at Kim, she's panicked. She's like, oh.
But
Kim, you're going to have to buy her some toffee squares.
I know, that's for
well,
sure.
toffee squares is the answer, and I'll give you the recipe because I make them at home, and whenever I'm really down and depressed, which could be once a day, there's always a toffee square available. I think I even have one in my purse. Okay, but if you don't have a sense of humor and you don't look on the ability of your child and you don't develop a positive relationship with somebody in the agency, but every agency, and I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds here, has a culture. And you have to work with the culture in the agency that you're from, and I just have one that listens to me. I think a lot of people don't want to return my calls at times, but they listen because, again, set realistic goals. Howard and Steve are very involved. They cannot walk down the street unattended. Howard can read, write, he can do a 1,000-piece puzzle, but he'll walk into a car. So build on what the ability is. Talk to the management people. Have somebody in your agency navigate it with you, and you can make it happen.
A great big thank you to Mrs. Great example of advocacy and partnering. Thank you.
Thank you.